Okay, so think about this for a second. It's kind of a riddle, right? You've got a successful lawyer, someone who's all about building careers, winning cases, climbing the ladder. So why on earth would they start a business that's all about helping people quit their jobs? It just doesn't seem to add up. Well, in this explainer, we're going to dive deep into the story of one lawyer who did exactly that. But listen, this is so much more than just a weird business idea. It's really a story about empathy and how a personal tragedy can just completely flip your worldview upside down. All right, let's get into it. The lawyer at the heart of this story is Ako Ozawa. And back in August of 2018, she started a service that, well, a lot of people found pretty controversial. What she started is called a Taishoku Daiko in Japan, basically a resignation proxy service. And yeah, it's pretty much exactly what it sounds like. You pay her a fee, and she becomes your stand-in. She's the one who calls your boss, handles all the awkward conversations, and formally tells the company you're out. You don't have to say a word. Now, I get it. Your first reaction might be, that's weird. I mean, quitting your job is a basic right, isn't it? You just walk in and say, I quit. But what we don't always see is the hidden reality that for some people, the fear, the pressure, the anxiety is so overwhelming, they feel completely and utterly trapped. And here's what's so fascinating. Ako Ozawa, the lawyer who runs this service, she used to feel the exact same way. From her purely legal point of view, quitting was simple. There were no complex laws around it. She literally couldn't understand why anyone would pay a stranger 50,000 yen. That's a decent chunk of cash, just to do something so simple. But then, her entire world fell apart. And that change started with a devastating family tragedy. This was the first moment, the first major crack that would completely shatter how she saw everything. So picture this. It's 2015. Ozawa is killing it. She's a third-year lawyer, totally on the elite track, working insane overtime hours, but loving it. She's at the top of her game. And then in that very same year, the unthinkable happens. Her younger brother dies. Just suddenly, in his sleep. After he passed, as the family was trying to make sense of it all, they looked through his phone, and what they found was just gut-wrenching. In his search history, one phrase typed over and over and over, how to quit my job. He was desperate, but he never said a word to anyone. This discovery just leveled her. She was flooded with this horrible regret. She realized that every time she'd brag to him about how busy she was, how successful she was unintentionally building a wall between them. He couldn't come to her for help, and she was a lawyer. She felt like she might have actually made things worse for him, pushed him deeper into that corner. There's a name for what she was experiencing: survivor's guilt. It's this overwhelming feeling that you've done something wrong just by surviving when someone else didn't. She was consumed by the thought that she should have seen it, should have helped. And this quote just says it all. Before this, she didn't get burnout. It was a foreign concept. But after her brother's death, her entire worldview, her ideas about work and success, everything just snapped. She uses this Japanese sound, pokey. It's the sound a dry twig makes when it breaks. It wasn't a slow crumble. It was a sharp, clean, irreversible break. But that wasn't the end of it. A couple of years later, a second experience would come along and give her the final piece of this very painful puzzle. So she has a child, takes maternity leave, and when she comes back to her law firm, everything's different. Despite being just as ambitious as before, she gets put on what's often called the mommy track. Now, the firm wasn't trying to be malicious, they just assumed she couldn't handle the intense workload anymore. And for her, this was a different kind of devastation. She felt useless, like she'd been benched, demoted to the second string in her own career. This feeling of being powerless, of having her professional identity taken from her, it broke something else inside. And there's that word again, pokey. Her spirit, her professional self, snapped. So it was right here, in this moment, feeling doubly broken, first by grief, then by this feeling of professional powerlessness, that she sees an article about a resignation proxy service again. And this time, it clicks. It doesn't seem strange. It makes perfect, painful, agonizing sense. These two shattering experiences, These two pokey moments, they didn't just break her. They actually came together to forge something new, a really powerful and personal kind of empathy. Let's just trace that path because it's so important. First, her brother's tragedy absolutely demolished her old work is everything mindset. Then, her career getting derailed taught her exactly what it feels like to be powerless and stuck. Put those two together, and you get this unique, profound understanding of what it's like to be trapped in silence. And this, right here, is her core insight. She's saying that you just can't get it, that feeling of wanting to quit but being physically unable to say the words, unless you've been broken yourself. Someone with that super elite mindset who's never really failed, they just see a simple problem. Just quit, they'd say. They can't see the invisible cage. So with this new hard-won empathy, she decided she had to do something. She channeled all that pain, all that insight, into creating a service for people who were stuck in that same silent desperation her brother was.
She started her service back in 2018, and all these years later, it's still going strong. And that alone tells you everything you need to know, right? It shows you that this silent need, this problem, it's real, and it hasn't gone away.
So her mission became crystal clear. Look, she's not trying to lead some big revolution for workers' rights. It's a practical service for people who feel trapped. And yeah, she got a ton of backlash from other lawyers who thought it was shady, but for her, it was also a way to hire and empower other people who felt sidelined, especially working moms like her. In her own words, it's a job created for and by doubly broken people.
And this is really the beautiful part of her journey. She admits that at first, yeah, she kind of wanted to teach companies a lesson to make them understand. But she's let that go. Her goal isn't to convince the people who've never been broken. It's just to throw a lifeline to the people who feel like they're drowning.
Which brings us back to a much deeper question. Ozawa's incredible story really makes you wonder, to truly, deeply understand someone else's pain, do you have to be broken first? It's a heavy thought. It makes you ask, what can any of us really know about a struggle we haven't lived? And more importantly, how do we help anyway?